What if I told you there's a specific time tonight, a deadline that could unlock an incredible spiritual reward before 11:15 p.m. on November 16, 2025? A divine connection is waiting to be embraced, promising fulfillment beyond your wildest dreams. Don't miss out on God's imminent blessing for those who seek Him now. Let me tell you about a deadline, not one for work or for bills, but a divine deadline set for 11:14 p.m. The clock is ticking for every soul in this room. What happens in that final minute before the 11th hour of your life runs out? What happens before 11:15? There is a promise of a reward so profound, so explosive, it can only be pictured as a comet tearing across the night sky. A reward for the one who does not wait, a reward for the one who seeks Him now. This is not a message for tomorrow. This is a whisper for you in this very breath you are taking. So I want you to do something. If this truth is stirring something in your spirit, then like this video. Let it be a testimony that you are done with waiting. Comment the number LN15 as a declaration that you are seeking your reward before that final moment, and subscribe, because this journey does not end here. The question is, what is that reward, and what will you find when you stop seeking everything else and seek only Him? My friends, the concept of a deadline is one we all understand in our bones. We live by them. We feel the pressure of a ticking clock in our careers, in our responsibilities, in the relentless march of time that structures our days. But what I want to speak into your spirit tonight is that heaven itself operates on a timetable. It is a schedule not marked by days on a calendar, but by the condition of the human heart. This is the weight, the urgency behind the divine deadline. So often we treat our faith as a future appointment. We pencil God in for later, for a more convenient season, for when the storms of life finally crash upon us and we have nowhere else to turn. We tell ourselves there will be time, there will be a tomorrow to get right, to get serious, to truly seek. We live as if grace is a constant, a river that will always flow, and we can simply wander down to its banks whenever the thirst becomes too great to bear. But the Scripture paints a different picture. It speaks of a now. It shouts of a today. The divine deadline is not a threat from an angry God. It is the sobering reality of a finite life colliding with an infinite opportunity. Your heart beats a certain number of times. Your lungs draw a finite number of breaths, and the window to build a life upon the foundation of His presence, to cultivate a relationship that transcends this earthly realm, is not a forever open door. It is a specific appointed time. It is the space between the now and the then. It is the 11th hour. And what is this 11th hour? It is not merely the final moments before physical death. That is too simplistic, and it allows us to continue in our procrastination. No, the 11th hour is any moment of divine invitation that arrives before a final spiritual turning point. It is the moment a word is preached and it pierces your heart. It is the moment a tragedy shakes your world and your priorities are forcibly rearranged. It is the quiet, persistent whisper in your soul that says, "This cannot wait." It is the 11:14 p.m. of your current circumstance. It is the last possible moment before a season ends, before a door closes, before the context of your seeking changes forever. The danger is that we grow comfortable in the delay. We become experts at crafting beautiful, intricate excuses. We will seek God when we feel less busy, when we have overcome a certain sin, when we understand more. When the pain becomes unbearable, we treat the pursuit of the divine as a hobby we will take up in retirement. But the divine deadline does not care for our excuses. It is the unwavering truth that the most important pursuit of your existence has a time limit, the opportunity for a specific reward for a specific depth of encounter, for a specific commissioning, is available now in this Kairos moment, and it may not be available under the same terms tomorrow. The clock on the wall of eternity is ticking. The question is not what time it is according to your watch or your career plan or your personal schedule. The question is what time it is in your spirit. Have you reached your own personal Leviton fortune? Are you living in the final, urgent moments of a grace period that was never promised to be endless? This is the foundation of everything that follows, because the reward is only promised to those who understand that the time to seek Him is not later, it is now. And so we find ourselves here at this precipice of understanding. We have felt the weight of the ticking clock, the reality that our opportunity to seek God is housed within the fragile container of time. But this truth, my friends, is not meant to paralyze us with fear. No, it is meant to propel us into a promise. For embedded within the urgency of the divine deadline is the breathtaking beauty of the reward of immediacy. God is not a distant landlord who collects rent at the end of the lease. He is a father who delights in giving good gifts to his children the moment they turn and ask. This reward is not a distant pension, a golden watch waiting for you after a long life of service. The reward is in the seeking itself, the moment you decide in the core of your being to stop everything and truly pursue Him. That is the very moment the comet of His presence streaks across the inner sky of your spirit. The writer of Hebrews makes this stunningly clear that God rewards those who earnestly seek Him. Not those who sought Him, not those who will seek Him, but those who are in the present, active, continuous tense, seeking Him. The reward is not a transaction at the end of a quest. The reward is the sustenance for the quest itself. Imagine a man lost in a desert, dying of thirst. He has a map that leads to a well. His reward is not merely the final cup of water he drinks from the well. His reward begins the moment he finds the map and takes the first step in the right direction. That first step is fueled by the hope of the water. That hope is itself a reward, for it replaces despair. Every subsequent step is a reward, for it brings him closer. The cool, clear water at the end is the culmination, but the reward was being activated all along the journey. So it is with God. The moment you turn from your own dead-end paths and take a single step toward Him, you are rewarded with a flicker of hope that displaces your despair. You are rewarded with a sliver of peace that calms your anxiety. You are rewarded with a sense of purpose that orients your lostness. This is the reward of immediacy. It is the manna that falls for today. It is the grace that is sufficient for this moment's trouble. We misunderstand the nature of God's kingdom when we perpetually live for a deferred blessing, for a breakthrough that is always on the horizon. The great deception of the enemy is to convince you that the reward is always tomorrow, so that you never access the power that is available today. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob identifies himself as the great I am, not the great I was or the great I will be. His most profound rewards are dispensed in the eternal now of His presence. The joy you need for this hour, the strength you require for this burden, the wisdom you must have for this decision, these are the rewards for the one who seeks Him now. They are not stored in a warehouse for future delivery. They are available for immediate withdrawal by faith. To delay your seeking is to voluntarily live in a state of deprivation, denying yourself the very sustenance that would empower you to make the journey, of course. Here is the continuation. But this immediately raises a critical question, one that has echoed through the hearts of men and women for centuries. What does this seeking actually look like? If the reward is tethered to the pursuit, then we must with great sincerity, interrogate the nature of true seeking, for it is possible to be in motion without heading in the right direction. It is possible to be religiously busy without ever drawing a single step closer to the heart of God. So let us be clear, seeking God is not synonymous with a mere intellectual curiosity about Him. It is not the accumulation of theological facts or the ability to win a doctrinal debate. You can fill your mind with information about God while your spirit remains distant and unmoved. Nor is seeking God merely the performance of rituals, the attendance of services, or the habit of prayer spoken into the empty air. These things can be the vehicle for seeking, but they are not the seeking itself. You can go through the motions for a lifetime and never once make contact with the divine. True seeking, the kind that triggers the reward of His immediate presence, is something far more profound and far more personal. It is the desperate, wholehearted orientation of your entire being toward Him. It is the pursuit of a person, not the acquisition of a concept. Imagine a child who has lost sight of their parent in a vast, crowded place. That child is not casually interested. That child is not weighing philosophical options. That child is single-minded, their small heart pounding with a mixture of fear and longing. Their eyes scan the crowd not for a distraction, but for one face. Their voice calls out not for general information, but for one specific relationship to be restored. That is the picture of true seeking. It is a pursuit born out of a deep sense of loss and a deeper sense of love. This kind of seeking is active, not passive. It is a determined digging, a relentless knocking, a persistent asking. It is the woman who lost one coin, sweeping every corner of her house until she finds it. It is the shepherd who leaves the 99 to track the one that is missing. It is a hunger that refuses to be satisfied with substitutes. It is a thirst that knows only one source of water. It involves the will, the emotions, and the intellect all aligned toward one singular goal encounter. And at its very core, true seeking is an act of faith. It is the unwavering conviction that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who come to Him in this manner. You do not seek for something you believe does not exist. You do not call out for someone you believe cannot hear you. This seeking is therefore a posture of humility and dependency. It is the admission that you are the lost child, you are the missing sheep, you are the one in need of the coin. It is turning away from the exhausting pretense of self-sufficiency and turning toward the one who is your source and your end. It is to seek Him for who He is, not merely for what He can do for you. When you seek Him for a blessing alone, you will eventually be disappointed. But when you seek Him for Himself, you find that He is the blessing. This understanding of true seeking, this wholehearted pursuit, brings us to the very practical matter of its transaction. If this is the pursuit, then what is the currency? What must we tender in this divine exchange to receive the reward He promises? The answer is both simple and profoundly challenging. The currency is not your past accomplishments nor your future potential. The only currency accepted at this counter is the present moment. It is the currency of now. So many of us are bankrupt in this currency because we are living in a different time zone. We are trying to pay for a present encounter with the counterfeit money of yesterday's regrets or the empty promises of tomorrow's resolutions. We approach the throne of grace, clutching the faded IOUs of our past failures, wondering why we cannot purchase a fresh start. Or we come with the blank checks of our future intentions, promising that one day we will be worthy, we will be ready, we will be clean, and all the while the transaction never happens. the reward remains just out of reach because we are not offering the one thing that is required: the surrendered and attentive present. The kingdom of God operates in the eternal now. God's name is I am. He does not dwell in your yesterday. He is the God who redeems it and then calls you to leave it behind. He does not inhabit your tomorrow. He is the God who holds it and asks you to trust him with it. His dwelling place, the place where his presence is most vividly felt and his reward is most freely given, is in the sanctified present. This is why the enemy's greatest strategy is to keep you time traveling. He will chain you to the guilt and shame of what has been, or he will hypnotize you with the anxiety and fear of what may be. If he can keep you there, he has effectively made you a ghost in your own life, incapable of engaging in the one moment where God is actively at work. The currency of now is paid in the form of a fully engaged attention. It is the decision to bring your entire self, your wandering thoughts, your anxious fears, your hidden hopes, into this single moment and to direct it all toward him. It is to silence the noise of the past and the future and to simply say, "Ere I am," right now in this breath, with this need, with this gratitude. This is the posture of true worship and the essence of true seeking. It is the widow putting her last 2 mites into the treasury. It was all she had to live on. It was her present reality, and she gave it entirely. That is the kind of offering God honors. He is not asking for your imagined perfection of tomorrow. He is asking for your honest, desperate, fully present need of today. When you offer him that, you have just offered him the only currency that can unlock the storehouses of heaven for your current situation. It is in the now that strongholds are broken, that healing begins, that direction is given, and that his presence becomes more real than your problem. This realization demands a fundamental reorientation of our entire life's pursuit. If the reward is found in the now of seeking him, then it forces a sobering audit of what we are currently chasing. We are all seeking something. Our energy, our time, our mental focus, and the deep longings of our heart are always pointed in a direction. The human spirit is not built for aimlessness. It is built for pursuit. But the critical question is, toward what end? The transition from a life of spiritual procrastination to one of divine immediacy requires a conscious and deliberate shifting of your pursuit. For many, the primary pursuit is the accumulation of things that are, by their very nature, temporary. We seek financial security, and we pour our best hours into that endeavor. We seek relational fulfillment, looking for a person to complete us. We seek the approval of others, molding our identity to fit their expectations. We seek comfort and the avoidance of pain, building a life designed for maximum ease. And while these things are not inherently evil, they make for a cruel and unforgiving master when they become the central object of our search. They are broken cisterns that can hold no water. They promise a reward that never truly satisfies, leaving the soul parched and desperate, always moving on to the next acquisition, the next milestone, the next compliment, in a vain attempt to quench a thirst they were never designed to satisfy. Shifting your pursuit means to dethrone these secondary things and to enthrone the one primary thing. It is the conscious decision that the pursuit of the presence of God will become the central orienting goal of your existence. Everything else, your career, your relationships, your dreams, must find its orbit around this sun. This is what the old theologians called the expulsive power of a new affection. You do not simply try to stop seeking worldly things by sheer force of will. That is a battle of attrition you will likely lose. Instead, you become so captivated by the beauty, the goodness, and the overwhelming satisfaction of seeking Christ that the former pursuits simply lose their power over you. They are exposed for what they are, cheap substitutes for the real thing. This shift is not a one-time event, but a daily, moment-by-moment realignment. It begins in the quiet of the morning when you choose to open His Word before you open your social media feed. It happens in the frustration of a traffic jam when you choose to turn your grumbling into a whispered prayer for peace. It occurs in the midst of a conflict when you choose to seek His wisdom over the need to be right. It is the active, willful decision to interpret every circumstance, every joy, and every pain through the lens of a single burning question: what does this moment reveal about God, and how can I draw closer to Him through it? You are no longer living a life that merely squeezes God in around the edges of your own agenda. You are living a life where your agenda is to find Him in everything. This is the great inversion, the turning of the world upside down, where the pursuit of the invisible God becomes the most tangible and reality-shaping force in your life. And so we arrive at the practical outworking of all that has been said. This is not a theory to be admired, but a life to be lived. This shift in pursuit finds its ultimate expression in a new way of inhabiting time itself. It is the discipline, the grace-infused practice of living in the 11-10-14. To live in the 11-10-14 is to adopt a perpetual state of holy urgency. It is not an anxiety-ridden panic, but a focused and purposeful intensity. It is the understanding that the next moment is not promised, that the current opportunity for obedience and intimacy is the only one you are guaranteed. This is what Paul meant when he instructed us to redeem the time, to buy up the opportunity, because the days are evil. He was calling for a life of deliberate, strategic focus, where the fleeting nature of time does not lead to despair, but to a profound clarity of purpose. You begin to see your life not as a long, meandering road, but as a series of decisive, God-appointed moments, each one ripe with eternal potential. This means the call to seek Him is not relegated to a quiet time in the morning, though it may begin there. It becomes the continuous posture of your soul throughout the chaos and the calm of your day. Living in the 11-10-14 is seeking Him in the school pickup line. It is seeking Him in the tense meeting with your boss. It is seeking Him in the laughter of your children and in the silence of your grief. It is to become a collector of present moments, consecrating each one by turning it into an occasion for communion. The barrier between the secular and the sacred shatters because every moment is pregnant with His presence, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be sought. This lifestyle is fueled by a constant, gentle awareness of the divine deadline. It is the quiet hum in the background of your consciousness that reminds you that delay is a form of theft. It steals from you the joy you could have today. It steals from you the peace that is available now. It steals from the kingdom the impact you could have in this very hour. To live in the 11-14 is to refuse this theft. It is to rebel against the world's mantra of procrastination. It is to become a person who, upon hearing a prompting of the Spirit, responds not later, but now. Upon feeling a nudge to repent, responds now. Upon sensing an opportunity to serve, to give, to love, to speak, responds now. This is how the reward becomes a constant stream rather than an occasional downpour. The comet of His presence is not a distant, celestial event you hope to see once in your lifetime. It is the ongoing light by which you navigate your path. The urgency of the deadline and the immediacy of the reward merge into a single, sustaining reality. Your life becomes a living testimony to the power of a soul that has stopped waiting for the right conditions and has decided to seek its God in the only time it ever truly owns the irrevocable, irreplaceable, and eternally significant now.